When I urgently needed to stay with my parents for just 2 weeks, they said there was no room in the house. 2 days later, my former room was given to my sister's ex-boyfriend, the same one who had cheated on her twice and once called my mom a worthless drunk at dinner. When I asked why, my dad said, because he's better than you anyway. And Mom didn't even hesitate, we trust him more than we ever trusted you. I just said, got it. Don't expect me to knock on your door again. Later, I did something they certainly weren't ready for. Now they send desperate messages, please, we didn't want this. I honestly don't even know where to begin with this. Every time I go over it in my head, it feels more surreal, like maybe I imagined parts of it, but I didn't. And I'm not crazy, even if it's starting to feel that way. Maybe the weirdest part is that, looking back, it didn't even start with some huge explosion. It started with a phone call to my mom. Just a normal, boring call. At least that's what I thought. Her voice was off right away. Usually she's the kind of person who's all over any chance to get the family together, birthdays, holidays, even random weekends. And yeah, she can be overbearing, but when things get rough, she's always been my go-to. That's what made her coldness feel so strange. I just lost my apartment. Not because I got kicked out or couldn't pay rent, nothing dramatic. My landlord's kid was moving back into town and he needed the place back. I had about a week to pack up and leave. Not ideal, but I figured I could crash at my parents' place for a bit. 2 weeks tops. Just long enough to find something new and get my footing again. So I called my mom and explained everything. I tried to keep it light, even cracked a few jokes so it wouldn't sound like I was begging. But she wasn't laughing. She wasn't even listening, not really. She just kind of deflected. Oh honey, she said, it's really not a good time right now. The house is just, it's a mess. Your dad and I are both swamped. You know how it is. That threw me. Because no, I don't know how it is. My mom has never said no to family. She once let my cousin crash in the garage for a month just because his girlfriend kicked him out. So I asked, what's going on? And then came the laundry list. The water heater was broken, someone was supposed to come look at the sink, the guest room was full of boxes, her back had been acting up. I mean, it was the most generic pile of excuses I'd ever heard. And when I pressed a little, she actually got annoyed, like I was being selfish for even asking. It felt wrong. Off. Like she was hiding something. But I let it go for the night. The next day I called my dad. Same thing. It's just bad timing, he said. We've got a full house right now. Your sister's back for a bit and her stuff's all over the place. No space in the guest room. I tried to keep my cool. I offered to help pay for groceries, help around the house, even chip in on bills. I wasn't asking for a handout. I just needed a place to sleep that wasn't a car or a friend's floor. But he shut me down hard. Didn't even consider it. He sounded done before I even finished the sentence. So that was that. I grabbed my duffel, crashed at my buddy Gabe's place, basically a futon in his living room, but at least it was something, and started living on Zillow. Hitting refresh 100 times a day, emailing landlords, applying to places I couldn't afford and praying something would stick. 2 days later, I got a DM from my sister, Lila. Now, Lila and I don't talk that much, not out of bad blood, just different lives, different routines. We'll send each other memes now and then, that's about it. So when I saw her name pop up, I knew something was off. All she said was, hey, just FYI, Trey's back. At first I thought she meant like, in town. Passing through. Maybe staying with friends. But no. She meant back at the house. In my old room. Trey. Let me give you a little context. Trey is her ex. Her disaster ex. The one who cheated on her twice, that we know of, and still had the audacity to show up to Christmas drunk and call my mom a washed-up bodahead in front of the whole family. Then he slammed the door and walked out like he was the one who'd been wronged. Even Dad, who usually plays diplomat in every situation, said that night he never wanted Trey in the house again. But now? Apparently he's back. I stared at my phone like it had personally insulted me. I didn't even know what to say. I texted my dad, is it true? Trey's living there. No answer for 3 hours. When he finally called me back, it was like he didn't even care. He didn't deny it. Didn't explain. Just said, yeah, Trey's going through a rough patch. We're trying to help him get back on his feet. I was quiet for a second. Then I said, so you've got space for him, but not for me? He didn't miss a beat. Yeah, well, Trey's still a better man than you'll ever be. That sentence. That one sentence. I actually laughed, one of those bitter laughs you do when you're so stunned it's funny. I texted Mom after, trying to see if she agreed. Her response? We trust him more than we'll ever trust you. Just like that. No hesitation. Like she'd been sitting on that line, waiting for a reason to say it out loud. I should have walked away then. I know that. But something in me snapped. I had to see it for myself. So I drove over. I didn't even plan it. Just got in the car, threw my phone on silent, and went. When I knocked, Dad opened the door and looked at me like I was a stranger selling insurance. Not angry. Not guilty. Just flat. I asked if I could at least grab some of my stuff from my old room. He said there was nothing left in there. Everything was boxed up in the garage. I could take it, but I wasn't coming inside. And then I heard Trey's voice in the background laughing about something on his phone like it was just another Tuesday. That was it. Something in me cracked. I told them not to expect me to come back. Ever. That they made their choice. Dad shrugged. Didn't say a word. Mom stepped into the doorway. Started to say something, but I cut her off. She started crying or pretending to. The kind of tears that don't really fall, the kind that come with clenched fists and a quivering jaw. Not sadness. Rage. The kind of crying people do when you're ruining their scene. I walked to the garage, found the boxes, some of them already opened. Grabbed what I could fit in my trunk. Lila came out as I was closing it. She looked wrecked. Kept saying she was sorry. That she had no say. That she didn't know they were letting Trey back in until it was too late. And then Trey came out too. Looked right through me. Like I was already gone. Like he'd won some prize. I told him to watch himself. He just smirked. I slammed the trunk shut and got in the car. Dad stood in the doorway and said, "Don't bother coming back." I didn't even hesitate. "Yeah," I said. "Don't worry. I won't." Mom was yelling something behind me as I pulled away. I didn't hear it. I didn't want to. After I slammed the trunk and drove away that day, I figured things would either blow up completely or just go silent. But I wasn't ready for what actually happened, the weird, surreal in-between. Because what came next wasn't a blow-up. It wasn't even acknowledgement. It was like nothing. Like the entire standoff at my parents' door, the rejection, the insults, the crying, the smirking ex in my old room had just been scrubbed from reality. A day later, my mom texted me like it was any other Thursday. "Hey sweetie, do you remember the Netflix password?" And then, "Also, did you take the blender with you? Can't find it anywhere." I stared at the messages for a good minute trying to figure out if she was joking. She wasn't. No mention of what had just happened. No reference to the fact that they'd essentially chosen my sister's toxic ex, Trey, over their own son. Just passwords and small talk. I didn't respond. I left her on read, which was way more polite than what I wanted to do. The next day, I got a call from my dad. First one since the front porch showdown. I let it ring, half thinking it might be an apology. It wasn't. When I finally picked up, his voice was flat. Not angry, not warm, just business. "Hey, can you stop by and help me fix the shelves in the garage? Trey's useless with tools." That was it. Like I was still the family handyman, not the guy they just pushed out. I actually laughed. "Nope," I said. "Figure it out." Click. A couple hours later, my mom tried again. This time it was groceries. "Can you pick up some bread and eggs for us? Just this once. We're short this week after buying Trey some new boots for work." Boots. For Trey. Right? It hit me then, they weren't sorry. They didn't think they'd done anything wrong. In their minds, this wasn't betrayal. It was just logistics. They had a full house and I was an extra. And now that I wasn't in their house, they wanted me to go right back to being the one who took care of everything from the outside. So I did what I should have done years ago. I stopped replying. That's when Lila, my sister, reached out again. She's not really the venting type, but she'd hit her limit. Her texts were scattered, angry, panicked. "Dude, Trey is eating everything in the fridge. Doesn't clean. Brings in his friends and they're loud as hell. I tried talking to Mom and she told me to be patient with him. Dad doesn't even look at him. Just grunts when he walks by. I'm losing my mind in this house." I told her she could stay with me for a while. I was still crashing on my friend Gabe's futon, but I would have made room. She said she couldn't leave Mom alone. She spirals when stuff gets bad. You know how she gets. Yeah, I knew. That guilt-trippy, teary silence followed by passive-aggressive Bible quotes and freezer meals. The woman could weaponize sadness like nobody else. But I couldn't be that buffer anymore. Not when they'd made it crystal clear I was replaceable. And here's the kicker, they weren't just ignoring what happened. They were spinning it. A week later, I got a message from my Aunt Caroline, completely out of the blue. "Hey, just checking in. Is everything okay with you and the family?" Apparently, my mom had already started working damage control. Telling relatives that I'd abandoned the family during a really difficult time. That I'd cut off contact without explanation. So I told Caroline the truth. Not dramatically, just facts. I told her I asked to stay for 2 weeks and my parents said no. That Trey, the guy who cheated on Lila and called my mom names over dinner, was living in my old room. That when I asked why, my dad said Trey was a better man than me. I even sent screenshots of Lila confirming everything. Caroline's response? Wow. I'm so sorry. I'll call you later. That was it. No drama. Just quiet shock. I realized then how little people actually knew about what went on in our house. Meanwhile, the requests from my parents didn't stop. Fix the Wi-Fi. Help reset the streaming logins. Pick up something from the pharmacy. Loan them $50 for groceries just this once. Every single time I ignored it. Not to be spiteful, just to reclaim some peace. It was like they couldn't grasp that I wasn't on call anymore. That I didn't owe them tech support and grocery runs after they shoved me out for a freeloading man-child. Then I started thinking about all the stuff I'd done for them over the years, all the little things that added up. I set up all their online accounts because Dad didn't trust the internet. I paid their internet bill for over a year because they kept forgetting. I bought them a new microwave when theirs broke. I updated their phones, installed their apps, got their TV remotes working again. I helped with taxes, fixed the plumbing, even changed out their thermostat when it stopped working. And the thing is, I never threw it in their faces. Never said, look what I've done. I just did it. Because I thought that's what family did. You show up. You help. But clearly, none of that meant anything when they had to choose between me and the walking red flag they let move in rent-free. So I made a list. Just for myself. And then I texted it to both of them, Mom and Dad. Every item. Every dollar. Every favor. No snark, no insults. Just the facts. At the bottom, I wrote, if you ever want help again, start by paying me back. Until then, I'm done. Mom tried to call immediately. Straight to voicemail. Dad replied with one word. Childish. Classic. Meanwhile, things at the house were falling apart. Lila kept me updated in bursts. The power got shut off for a day because no one paid the bill. Trey invited some guy over who spilled beer on Dad's old recliner. Mom screamed. Trey laughed. Dad yelled at Lila for not managing the situation. Lila locked herself in the bathroom and didn't come out till morning. I told her again she could come stay with me. She said not yet, but maybe soon. I respected that. I knew what it felt like to be stuck between guilt and escape. And still, the texts kept coming from my parents, tone-deaf, needy, sometimes manipulative. Mom, can you remind me how to update the antivirus on the laptop? Dad, garage door opener's broken. You know where we bought it. Mom, we're just trying to keep the family together. You're making it so hard. Also, Mom, do you have the login for Hulu? I couldn't even make this stuff up. Then one morning, Gabe, my friend I was staying with, told me someone was banging on the front door. It was my dad. Just standing there, unshaven, scowling like he expected me to open the door and offer him coffee. I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. What are you doing here? I asked. He didn't even blink. We need help. You're being ridiculous. Your mother's stressed out. You can't just cut us off like this. I told him to leave. He tried to push past me. I shoved him back, not hard, just enough to make the message clear. He called me a disgrace. I said, you said I wasn't your son. I'm just making it official. Then I went back inside and locked the door. Gabe looked at me like I just performed an exorcism. Bro, he said, that man is unhinged. I just shrugged. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't even feel sad. I felt done. For the first time in my life, I wasn't tangled up in trying to make things okay. I wasn't scrambling to smooth over the cracks. Let them deal with the mess. They chose their favorite. Let him fix the thermostat. There's a specific kind of silence that hits you when you stop being useful to people who only kept you around because of what you did for them. It's not peaceful. It's not even lonely. It's like walking through a burned-down house, familiar shapes still there, but everything hollowed out. That's what it felt like after I told my parents I was done helping. No more tech support. No more groceries. No more rides, repairs, or reminders. At first, the silence felt like a win. Like I'd finally set a boundary they couldn't cross. But it didn't last. The first crack came early one morning. I was still half asleep, scrolling through job listings and eating cereal dry out of the box when my phone buzzed. Dad, the guy who told me Trey was a better man than I'd ever be, now calling at 8:12 a.m. on a Saturday. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text came in. Can you come help with the gutters this weekend? Trey's too busy. I laughed out loud. I actually choked on a cornflake. This man really thought I'd come fix the gutters on his house after telling me I wasn't welcome in it. I texted back one word. Nope. Didn't even get a response. Then, as if it was scheduled, 2 hours later, my mom messaged, "We're a little short this month. Can you spot us $75 for groceries? Just until payday." Again, nothing about what had gone down. No apology. No, "Hey, sorry we chose your sister's deadbeat ex over you." Just back to the usual requests. I ignored her. 2 days later, I get a Facebook message from my cousin Justin. "Hey man, is everything okay at home? Your mom's been calling my mom crying. Says you cut them off when they needed you most." I sighed. This was how my family operated, not through direct conversation, but side channels and vague guilt trips. I sent Justin the whole story. Told him about the call, the rejection, Trey moving in, the manipulation, everything. Screenshots and all. His reply? "Dude, that's messed up. I had no idea." Exactly. No one ever did. My parents were great at playing victims in public. It was their family superpower. But behind closed doors? They were the ones who made the mess and expected someone else to clean it up. Usually that someone was me. Not anymore. Meanwhile, Trey was busy making himself a permanent resident in my old life. Lila kept me updated in drips and rants. She said he never left the room unless it was to raid the fridge or yell at her for being too loud on the phone. Mom tiptoed around him. Dad avoided him. Trey acted like he was doing them a favor by existing. When my mom asked him to wash the dishes one night, he told her, "That's not really my thing." She apparently laughed like it was charming. Lila said the turning point for her was when Trey brought some girl over without asking. They were loud, obnoxious, and left a trail of beer cans across the living room. Mom told him to keep it down. Trey replied, "If you don't like it, maybe go take a walk or something." That night, Mom actually slapped him. Lila wasn't sure what shocked her more, the slap or the fact that Trey blocked it and pushed her back. And what did Dad do? Yelled at Lila for starting drama. Yeah, it was that bad. She called me that night, half crying, half furious. Said she felt like she was babysitting a bunch of toddlers. Said she wanted to move out but didn't have enough saved yet. That every time she brought up leaving, Mom would spiral and start guilt-tripping her. "I can't leave her alone with both of them," she said. "But I'm so close to just disappearing." I told her the offer still stood, she could crash with me anytime. She thanked me, but I could tell she wasn't ready. Not yet. Around this time, I started thinking about all the bills and accounts that were still technically under my name. See, my dad never trusted those online payment systems. So guess who set up all their utilities? Gas, electric, water, internet, all in my name or managed through my login. I had access to everything. I'd been managing it all since college. At the time, it made sense. They hated dealing with passwords, forms, bank transfers. I handled it all because it was easier than getting the 50-question phone calls every month. But now, I realized if I stopped paying, they'd be completely lost. Not out of cruelty. Not to be vengeful. Just natural consequence. They cut me off and I'm done carrying their load. So I did it. I logged into every account and started the process of removing myself. I changed payment methods to bill by mail. I removed my cards. I deleted saved passwords. Anything I was tied to, I backed out. Then I sent my dad a message. "I've removed myself from all the utility and service accounts. They're now under your name or require direct billing. You've got until the end of the month to set things up." His response? "You'll regret this." I didn't reply. I just blocked his number. 5 minutes later, Mom sent me a 12-paragraph guilt essay via Messenger. Started with, "I don't understand why you're being so cruel to us." And ended with, "Also, can you remind me of the Hulu login? We can't get it to work." That one actually made me laugh. The audacity was so pure I almost admired it. It didn't take long for the fallout to start. The power got shut off one afternoon. I knew because Lila called me in a rage. Trey was screaming at Mom. Mom was screaming at Dad. Dad kicked the trash can. It was like a bad sitcom. I asked if she was okay. She said she was fine, just exhausted. "Why do they always assume you'll fix everything?" she asked. Like they literally don't know how to function without you. I didn't have an answer. But she wasn't wrong. Later that week, Mom apparently called her sister and begged for money. When she said no, Dad tried asking Lila for her savings. She laughed in his face. The next day, Trey packed up and left. Just vanished. Took some of my old clothes, including a pair of limited edition sneakers he knew weren't his, my old PS4, and vanished. No goodbye. No thanks. Lila texted. Good riddance. Except he took your controller. Sorry. I didn't care. Let him take the controller. He was never in control to begin with. Dad blamed Lila for driving him away. Mom sulked for 3 days. Lila started crashing with her friend more often. She said the house felt like a sinking ship. And I was fine. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't drowning in other people's chaos. Sure, I was still sleeping on a futon. Still job hunting. Still scraping by. But emotionally? I was solid. No more being the family IT guy, the unpaid Uber, the emergency bank. They'd made it clear, I wasn't part of the real family unless I was serving a purpose. So I stopped serving. And now they were left to figure out what life looked like without me gluing everything together. Spoiler alert, they weren't handling it well. But that wasn't my problem anymore. It's been almost a year since all of it started, the phone calls, the slammed doors, the guilt-tripping texts, the screaming matches I wasn't even there for. I didn't think I'd still be talking about it. Honestly, I figured they'd either come around or forget I existed. I didn't expect them to spiral like this. Or maybe I did, I just didn't think it would go this far. After Trey bailed, everything in that house started to collapse. Lila kept me updated, the less and less as time went on. I think even she got tired of talking about it. Apparently, after Trey left, he didn't just disappear quietly, he took stuff. My old PS4, a couple of shirts that were still in the garage, even a pair of sneakers I'd kept boxed for years. But that wasn't what made the house crack. It was what he left behind. Chaos. Mom was a wreck. Not the sobbing on the floor kind, no, she weaponized her stress in quieter ways. Walking around sighing dramatically, staring out the window, telling everyone she was being punished for trying to help. Like she was the victim in all this. Like the past year hadn't been her choosing convenience over character. Dad? He spiraled in the opposite direction. Got meaner. Louder. Started blaming Lila for not keeping the house in order, for letting Trey walk all over them. As if she invited him in. As if she had a say in anything. And while all this was happening, the passive aggression, the money trouble, the late bills and silent dinners, I stayed quiet. I stayed away. I didn't text. Didn't call. Didn't unblock. But the universe doesn't leave empty spaces for long. They filled the void with relatives. I started getting messages from extended family I hadn't heard from in years. One uncle told me my dad was struggling to keep things afloat. A cousin said mom had lost her sparkle. One of them asked, point blank, "Is there really nothing you can do?" Yeah, there is something I can do. I cannot go back. I cannot enable them again. I can finally choose myself. But even as I told myself that, the guilt chipped away at me. It's hard growing up with parents who equate loyalty with silence, who train you to think that love means fixing everything they break, that if you don't pick up the pieces, you're the reason it all shattered. So I did the one thing I hadn't done yet. I called the mortgage company. I wasn't on the loan, I made sure of that. But 2 years ago, I helped them refinance. I sat at the computer with my dad, walked him through the paperwork, helped him navigate the website because he didn't trust all those online forms. I never signed anything, but I needed to be sure there was no trail that could come back to bite me. It was clean. My name wasn't on anything. I asked the representative to redirect any remaining digital notices back to their primary account. Then I logged out, closed the tab, and exhaled. I didn't owe them a thing. Not legally. Not financially. Not anymore. A week later, I called them. The first time in months. Dad answered. Yeah, he said. Just like that. Like we'd spoken yesterday. In the background, I could hear Mom crying. Not quietly. Not movie scene delicate. Loud, messy, angry crying. The kind that comes with broken furniture and unpaid bills. He started in right away, something about the house being under threat, how the bank was being unreasonable, how Lila refused to help, how you could end all this with one wire transfer. I let him talk for a full minute before I cut in. I'm not bailing you out. Dead silence. You made your choice, I said. You let a guy who humiliated our whole family live in my room. You told me I wasn't good enough. You said he was a better man than me. You made it clear where I stood. So this is yours to fix. Mom grabbed the phone then. I could hear her scrambling in the background, and then her voice came through the speaker, desperate, broken, the voice of someone used to crying their way out of consequences. This isn't what we wanted. Please, Alex. We were just trying to help someone. So was I said. I tried to help you for years. And you didn't just throw me away, you made me the villain for not letting you. She said something about forgiveness, about how I needed to let go of the past. I hung up. I stared at the screen for a long time after that. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, from relief. It felt final. For once, I hadn't wavered. And that's when it clicked. They weren't crying because they regretted how they treated me. They were crying because their safety net was gone. The fallout didn't take long. Lila texted me 2 days later. She was officially out. Said she moved most of her stuff into her friend's place and was sleeping on a blow-up mattress in a shared room, but it felt like heaven compared to home. They're losing the house, she said bluntly. Dad's behind on the mortgage by at least 3 months. They tried to borrow from Uncle Pete and he shut it down. I told her the door was always open if she needed it. I might take you up on that, she replied. But not yet. I still need space from everyone, even you. I understood. We were all just trying to heal in our own ways. Meanwhile, Mom and Dad started doing the rounds. Calling cousins, neighbors, even Gabe, my friend, trying to find a way to survive the mess they created. Every time someone told them no, they circled back to me. Like maybe I'd softened. Maybe if they cried loud enough, I'd fold. I didn't. I got another call from a blocked number. Didn't pick up. A voicemail, Mom, sobbing, saying they were considering moving into a trailer park. That they'd have to sell everything. That it was my fault for abandoning them when they needed me most. I saved it. Not out of spite, just as a reminder. Because even after all this time, part of me still has to fight the instinct to run back and fix things. To walk into the burning house with a bucket of water and a toolbox and pretend everything can be made okay if I just try hard enough. But it can't. Some things don't need fixing. Some things need to be left in ashes. So where does that leave me now? I moved out of Gabe's a couple months back. Got a studio apartment. Nothing fancy, small kitchen, weird closet, floors that creak when it's cold. But it's mine. Fully mine. And when I close the door at night, it stays closed. No yelling. No manipulation. No guilt. Lila visits sometimes. Not often, but enough. She's still figuring things out, same as me. We don't talk much about our parents anymore. Sometimes we laugh about Trey. She told me he tried messaging her on Instagram recently with a "you up." She blocked him instantly. We're not exactly close. Trauma doesn't automatically turn you into best friends, but we're finally honest with each other. That counts for something. As for my parents, I don't know. They still try. I get emails sometimes. Long ones. Sometimes short and bitter. Sometimes full of fake cheer. The last one said, "Hope you're doing well. We miss you. Things are hard. Just thinking of you. Mom." I didn't reply. Not because I hate them. Not because I want revenge. Because I finally understand something I wish I'd learned a decade earlier. Love without respect is just control. And I'm not letting anyone control me anymore. So yeah, maybe I burned the bridge. But honestly, they lit the match. I just stopped putting out the fire.